Happy Easter. The psalm for the fifth Sunday of Easter is this: Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. Exalt you just in the Lord. Praise from the upright is fitting. Give thanks to the Lord on the harp. With the 10-string lyre, chant his praises. Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. Upright is the word of the Lord, and all his works are trustworthy. He loves justice and right. Of the kindness of the Lord, the earth is full. Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. See, the eyes of the Lord are upon those who fear him, upon those who hope in his kindness, to deliver them from death and preserve them in spite of famine. Lord, let your mercy be on us as we place our trust in you. When Pope St. John Paul II came to Chicago back in October of 1979, the Holy Father made it a point that when he celebrated the Mass in Grant Park, while holding up the Eucharist aloft for the people after the words of consecration, Pope John Paul, he looked out at the people. He looked out at the crowds. It was striking and very unusual. Typically, a priest prays the words of institution. He elevates the host, and he stares at the true presence of God himself. God himself in his very hands. But the Pope had looked out at the people. When asked by an observant Catholic reporter why Pope John Paul did this, his response was even more telling, more revealing about the saint's spirituality. Pope said, "I gauge the people's faith. I look to see if the faithful will gaze upon the beauty of God in the sacred host." The Pontiff went on to speak of a false humility that some Catholic citizenry is guilty of. Yes, we are unable to behold God. We are unworthy to do that. But just as Jesus demanded that St. Peter allow him to wash his feet the night of the Last Supper, so it is that God has humbled himself to look to us. And then we would avert our eyes when God appears to us in such a lowly and humble form that we could finally look at him. No wonder there's such a crisis of faith in our country today, that the U.S. bishops have instigated a Eucharistic Revival. The Catholic Church begs us every Sunday to look up at the Eucharist raised above our altar in the Holy Mass, that we would see God's kindness, that we would see God's gentleness, that we would see God's love come to us in that Eucharist. I love Michelangelo's depiction of the Last Judgment on the altar wall of the Sistine Chapel. The Lord desperately looks toward the souls who are falling into hell. If any one of those damned souls would look at Jesus, he would be saved. But those who are destined for perdition, they never looked at God in this life, and so they don't know any better at the second coming of Christ to look to the Lord, to ask for his mercy, to save them from death. When we come to Mass, we're actually practicing for the end times. As the psalmist says, the eyes of the Lord are upon those who fear him, upon those who hope for his kindness to deliver them from death. I beg you as your priest, if it hasn't been your spirituality in the past, to look at God's Son when I hold the Lord in all of his magnificence aloft in the consecrated host. If it hasn't been your spirituality to gaze back at the humble beauty of God, please change your habit and behold your God. That's the purpose of your coming to Mass every Sunday, to see God. How many people say, "Where is God in my life?" And then you Catholics have the ability to see God every Sunday in the Mass. Don't be like St. Peter, who had forbidden our Lord to wash his feet. Don't be like the damned souls in Michelangelo's Last Judgment painting, refusing to look at Jesus. No. Be as Pope St. John Paul the Great wanted the Chicagoans of Grant Park to be. Be as the psalmist pleads for us now, to look upon him who in his great kindness will deliver you from death. Happy Easter.